Ruben Amorim is targeting a new striker and forward this summer as he demands intensity. United see Chris Rigg as a must-have. Martinez is set for his surgery. More job cuts are expected from INEOS. Players want Amorim to change his system, and Quenda to United is a done deal. All this plus more in today's video as we run through all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video and let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with this story. Came from a fairly decent Spanish outlet saying that Manchester United are now interested in Atletico Bilbao sporting director Mikel Gonzalez to replace Dan Ashworth. I don't know too much about Mikel Gonzalez, but I do know that Atletico Bilbao don't really sign players, so that's a bit of a left field one because they only buy players from their general area. So I don't know what his recruitment would be like in the big wide world because of that reason. But, it's one of these. It's not really picked up any more traction. We'll wait and see what happens. The kind of latest we heard on that was that we were going to potentially recruit from within. So I give it to Jason Wilcox and then maybe look at moving up Vivel to some more senior role and stuff. But by all accounts, they're quite happy with the setup they've got at the moment. And there have been reports that we might get one, we might not get one. So we'll have to kind of wait and see. But would be an interesting option, but not one that I've kind of particularly heard of, or not one that's got a fantastic record of signing players, because they don't sign players, Bilbao. They generally recruit from their own area. Which is a bit of a weird one. It'd be like getting a director of football saying, right, we're only going to play players from Manchester, and that's it. That would be his kind of skill set. It doesn't mean that he's not good at, doesn't have a scouting network or isn't capable of doing those things. It would just be a bit weird. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now let's go through some transfer news. So Manchester United's intention this summer is to sign at least one player who can play behind the striker and one centre forward, a proper number 9 who can score goals regularly. Now that came from Fabrizio Romano. That's kind of, I think we do need a goal scorer in the team, but also I do think it's important we get somebody that can play behind in one of those kind of attacking 10 positions as well, because, creativity, goals, been our Achilles heel for a long time at United. It's not just, necessarily an Amorim thing. This was true under Ten Hag as well, although with Ten Hag, I think we were missing more chances potentially than under Amorim. But yeah, I think it's essential that we go for an attacking like a 10 and a top number 9 that can score goals as well. So I am all behind that. Romano also said that Amorim keeps telling Manchester United how crucial it is to bring in players who can give intensity to the squad. This is the word that will dominate the summer transfer window for United. And again, I kind of agree with that. Physicality, intensity, these sort of words. We have a really, really low ceiling. And I actually think Amorim's kind of increased our physicality a little bit when he's came in. I think we are, a little bit more kind of tough on the pitch as well, but we still have some players that are just not that kind of intense or not that physical as well. So you can kind of see what he wants, and I think that's a match for the Premier League as well: intensity, physicality. So I'm all behind that as well. Now, one player that we've signed that I do think fits that mold is Dorgu. Romano also said the following regarding him, that Manchester United beat Napoli and Juventus to the signing of Patrick Dorgu. Both Italian clubs were in talks to sign him in the summer. Ruben Amorim's direct call with Dorgu had a massive impact in changing the story and making the deal happen immediately. So Romano giving a bit of insight around that deal, that other teams were interested in Dorgu, but Amorim made the call, and that had a big impact on him potentially coming in as well. So it'll be interesting. So I thought that was kind of interesting to bring to you, but I'd be interested to see how kind of Dorgu develops. I thought he had a pretty decent cameo for his debut at the weekend. I don't think he deserved to be subbed at halftime, personally. But it's his first appearance at the club. He will need time to settle in. Samuel Lucas on Dorgu, though, said that Patrick Dorgu is expected to be primarily used as a left wing back in the future rather than on the right. So I think that's positive as well. I do think, we bought a left winger or left wing back, played him on the right, not that he can't play there, or not that I have a big issue with that, because we're, heavily linked with Geovany Quenda, who will be the right wing back. He's left footed as well. So I do think that I don't necessarily think that it's that Dorgu can't play at right wing back. It's just, for me, Dallow's been really, really poor this season at left wing back. And it would have made more sense to swap them around, in my personal opinion, because of how poor Dallow's been there and give Dalot the chance again at right wing back to kind of build his confidence and stuff again. But we'll see how it goes forward. I'm sure it was just one of those for that particular game, and it's his debut, and maybe wanted to kind of see him play in that position. But let me know what you think in the comments. Now, in terms of strikers, going back to what Romano was saying before, striker and a forward are seen as the kind of priority. So Viktor Gyokeres, one we're heavily linked with. We're going to be heavily linked with for the next few months until the summer. Unfortunately, because of one, he's a good player. Two, we've scouted him already beforehand. And then three, obviously, we've got the relationship with Amorim. But so Viktor Gyokeres has been touted as the dream solution to Manchester United's goal-scoring troubles, while other names have been mooted. Regardless of who United identify as their top target, they will sign a striker this summer. So Manchester Evening News kind of corroborating what Romano said as well. I think Viktor Gyokeres definitely player of interest. Whether we would get him or not, though, remains to be seen. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of competition for him. But it we'll have to wait and kind of see. Wait and see. Let me know what you think about that, though, in the comments. Another striker we've been heavily linked with is Liam Delap. So United have put the addition on the first choice striker high on their list of priorities in the summer transfer window. Liam Delap is being pinpointed as a serious target. That came from Dean Jones. I always kind of refer back to the fact that we were linked with him with David Ornstein. And David Ornstein, for me, best journalist around for football, transfer news and stuff. Linking us with potentially Delap. So I do think maybe he would be potentially an option depending on the priorities. Who's your number 1, 2, 3, 4? I think Delap will be in the conversation. But yeah, we'll need to wait and kind of see. Again, it's a bit early. We've got to wait and kind of build up the kind of portfolio of players that actually we're kind of linked with. But I would definitely put Gyokeres. I would put Delap on the kind of striker list. I would put Osimhen as well because he's been heavily linked. Samu Aguihawa's name keeps getting thrown around as well by some decent sources. So they would be maybe the 4 at the moment. And then you'll have the players like, Sesko and stuff, although there was a report yesterday saying Sesko would maybe prefer a move to Arsenal. But they would be the kind of 4 where I would say at this moment in time we're more heavily linked with. But let me know who you picking. Let me give us some names, give us some options, who you kind of thinking. Gyokeres, Osimhen, Delap, anybody else. Do you know what I mean? Give us some kind of options and some names, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on the striker situation at United. Now, in terms of the forwards, one of the players we're heavily linked with is Matheus Cunha. Manchester United are following Matheus Cunha's development very closely. He has a release clause worth just over £60 million this summer, which will take effect from June. That came from a good South American journalist. Obviously, Matheus Cunha is Brazilian, so clear links there as well. And then obviously we had a story the other day that Romano was saying that we actually made contact with him in the January transfer window, or in December for the January transfer window. I think he would have been a player maybe if Garnacho got sold, would have maybe gone for Cunha. And then obviously at the end, Garnacho stayed. Cunha signed a new deal. Apparently, it's got a release clause of around £62 million from what I've been reading. So it stands to reason that maybe we would go back in for him in the summer. I think there would be competition for him though in the summer, and I think he'll have his choice of kind of clubs maybe to go to. City, Arsenal, I think would be interested as amongst others, maybe across the world as well, because he is a fantastic player. I've heard somewhere he might be a United fan, so that might be, give us a little bit of an advantage. But, it doesn't mean, Cole Palmer's a United fan and he's balling it out at Chelsea, so it's not always the, the be-all or end-all. But I think clear interest in Cunha. I think he'd be a fantastic signing to bring in that and inside 10 position. Imagine Cunha and then like Gyokeres or Osimhen or, Samu Aguihawa, someone like that up front as well. I do think it would kind of massively improve the attack. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, another player that we've been heavily linked with recently is Chris Rigg. Manchester United are determined not to lose out on Chris Rigg, and their scouts consider him a must-have. That came from Graham Bailey, who was a hit-and-miss journalist, so I would say, I'd not necessarily take that with a pinch of salt, because we've been heavily linked with Chris Rigg before. He's definitely a player of interest, definitely a player we've scouted. We've had credible people saying that United are scouting Sunderland games, and specifically Chris Rigg. So I do think that could be one to keep an eye on. It would depend on the price, though, because Sunderland might be getting promoted to the Premier League. If they do, that's going to increase his kind of fee. So it'll be interesting. I think there might be competition for him as well, because he is really, really highly regarded young English midfielder. Can play like as an attacking midfielder, can play as a box-to-box midfielder as well. So he is a really, really good player. My mates and family and stuff that will see Sunderland season ticket holders love him. But they have said that he's not quite ready to, they don't think he's quite ready to make that step up yet, but you know, he's got development in him, we'll say. But yeah, outstanding young talent, and I'd be all for us getting Chris Rigg. But let me know what you think in the comments. Keeping with the midfield, Manchester United will target midfield reinforcements this summer with the aim of reducing the need for Bruno Fernandes to play in a deeper role too often. And I do think we need a midfield. I think getting a midfielder solves a few. It gives us more rotation options as well, because you can then play Bruno deep if you need to. You could also then play him in his preferred position, which is close to the goal, as one of the 10s. If you get another 10, you've then got rotation options, and you can kind of, you know, mix and match, and it gives you way more kind of squad control and squad depth, I think, bringing in a midfielder. Obviously, some of the players we've been linked with, Edison, one that I think's got probably the most links with us at the moment would be Edison for the midfield, but it's a bit, again, it's early, transfer windows a long way away, so we'll need to kind of wait and see, and then hopefully closer to the time we'll have a bit of an understanding of what kind of key players we're looking for in the midfield. But I do think it's an area that we do need to strengthen. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then main player, though, that we're more heavily linked with at the moment is Geovany Quenda. So Manchester United remain open to signing Geovany Quenda despite the arrival of Patrick Dorgu. A source has said super agent George Mendes has brought half of Kenda's image rights. That came from Samuel Luckhurst. And then a bowler this morning who actually quite decent when it comes to like Portuguese news. Like if there was a story about linking United with someone from, you know, Italy, I'd be saying take it with a pinch of salt. But specifically when it comes to Portuguese players and news, they are actually, you know, they are actually a decent outlet. So saying Geovany Quenda's transfer to Manchester United this summer is already a done deal for £50 million. No other clubs can enter the race. Now, there is no smoke without fire regarding Quenda. There's loads of like Ornstein, Matheus, I mean, like quite a few kind of decent sources are all kind of saying that Quenda to United is pretty much, you know, I don't want to say a done deal because nothing's been official, nothing's announced, and you can never say never in football. But, you know, there's definitely no smoke without fire with Quenda. At the moment, it looks like he's pretty much nailed on to be coming in the summer transfer window. Let us know what you think about that one. I think that's quite exciting. He's very good, young, developmental, you know, he brings that intensity as well. If you've ever watched him or seen him kind of play, he is quite an intense player, very skillful, very highly regarded. I think it would be a good move. Would probably come in and play at the right wing-back position because that's where Amorim was playing him through Sporting, so that would make sense, but can also play. It's very similar to Ahmed, where he can play the right wing-back or play as like slightly higher up. He's been playing on the right a lot for Sporting since Amorim left as well, so he does give you that kind of flexibility and that rotation as well, where he can play in a few different positions. And very talented. So yeah, I would definitely say there's no smoke without fire with Quenda. There's multiple reports. Ebola, I think, have done a story already saying something similar, where they say it was effectively a done deal. We've had other Portuguese outlets, Ornstein, I mean, all these kind of people suggesting that Quenda is clearly a player of interest and might even be further down the line than we think. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, another position on the pitch we could be looking to strengthen in the summer would be the defence. So Dean Huijsen, John-Claire Todibo, Jared Branthwaite and Gonzalo Inacio are all on Manchester United's transfer list for the summer. Now that came from Ekram. He's not necessarily the most credible sort. Had a lot to say recently, though. He's brought out multiple kind of reports, so whether that's clickbaiting, whether he's, you know, got some sources or whatever, but he's putting out a lot of kind of stories recently. You know, Todibo, is it Todibo playing for West Ham? I'm pretty sure last time I seen he's not made that many appearances for them. Jared Branthwaite will be too expensive. Inacio I could see, obviously, but it's another player from Sporting. I think if it was a club signing, then yes, I do think that maybe United want to go away from signing loads of former players that have played for the manager. But if he's a player that we were looking for anyway, I think they would make a move on that one. Huijsen would be a fantastic young player. We mentioned him in the video the other day as well. But give us your thoughts. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now let's go through some exit talks. So Juventus are the most interested club in Rasmus Højlund and could intensify their interest in the next few months. Manchester United would accept offers in the region of £40 million. That came from UV Live via Sport Witness. Not the most credible source, being completely truthful with you, but it's another kind of story suggesting that United might be looking to potentially sell Rasmus Højlund. Remember, I brought you news the other day about West Ham potentially being interested. The 40 million figure was the same as well. But again, I'd want to wait for a bit more credibility and let's give the lad a bit of a chance towards the end of the season. He's obviously out of form at the moment as well, but he is still a very, very young player who's finding his feet, who's not really had any guidance or anyone to tutor him properly as well. Literally thrown into the deep end to play up front with United. Had a manager change this season as well. So, a system change, doesn't get chances. There's loads of kind of issues with around Højlund that are not just his fault. But his form is really, really bad in just his general play as well. But we'll wait and see what happens. I do think we need a goal scorer, even if Højlund then becomes a backup. So he's got somebody to learn off of to help his development as well, and some competition up there as well. I do think that could help him as well. But if the club don't think he's the right fit and they want to sell him, it's one of these, isn't it? We'll just have to wait and see kind of what happens. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. And then Romano said that Casemiro, Christian Eriksen, Victor Lindelof and Johnny Evans are all expected to leave Manchester United this summer. More players can also leave based on proposals they receive. So I think that's obvious. Eriksen, Lindelof, Johnny Evans are all out of contract. They're not getting new deals, so they're all going to leave. Casemiro, we've been trying to sell in the summer. It'll be effectively for 2 years. So hopefully he'll get the hint and maybe we can finally move him on, because I think... it's just like he deserves to be playing football, not necessarily at the Premier League level, but he's good enough to play and sell shirts and, sell out and help other clubs to kind of bring him. He's a good enough player to kind of do that and still be playing football at a decent level. I just don't think he's, quite Premier League quality with his lack of pace and mobility, and going back to what we were saying before about intensity and stuff, plus the fact he's our highest paid player, or amongst our highest paid player as well, depending on what you read. It's one of these, isn't it? I do think we would need to kind of look to remove Casemiro in the future, but let me know what you think about that in the comments. Lisandro Martinez is set to undergo surgery this week to repair the torn anterior cruciate ligament in his left knee. United's doctors have decided that an operation is the best course of action. That came from the Daily Mail. Good luck with his recovery. He's going to be out for a while, Martinez, which goes back to what we said, the stories around linking us with a defender. I do think we're going to need to bring one in, especially with Lindelof leaving, Johnny Evans leaving, and obviously Martinez now being injured. He could be out for anything 9 months, could be a little bit longer by the time he recovers and finds his form in that again as well. I know we bought Aiden Heaven, but I do think we're going to need some kind of reinforcement in the back as well, just through numbers. I think maybe Conke could be promoted. We'll see how. I think they'll look at him in pre-season. He's obviously a player that Amorim fancies behind the scenes. I say fancies, likes behind the scenes. Don't take that the wrong way. Because he's one of the youth players that's been on the bench and made the matchday squads and stuff like that as well. So apparently he's the one that kind of caught his attention when he first came in as well. So maybe that could save us a bit of money, but I do think we need a defender. And it's just really sad for Martinez, really unlucky, that kind of injury, because it's an impact injury, something he did on the pitch. It's not like we've just never seen him for months like Mount or Shaw, where we're like, I don't know what happened there. But yeah, really frustrating. So I do think that we'd need to bring somebody else in for centre-half. And in terms of keeping Martinez, Paul Scholes, I don't know if you see that, had some comments yesterday and some damning things to say about United's defence, going in on De Ligt and Mazraoui and Martinez, where he said even Martinez is fit is not good enough to win the Premier League with, which I kind of disagree with Paul Scholes on that one. Let's not forget Martinez has won a World Cup and 2 Copa Americas and is a very good kind of player. Martinez has responded on his Instagram with the following, though, saying this Jinx guy is really hurting. You put him in Argentina and he wouldn't survive. I think Jinx, I kind of did some research around it because it's like a translation thing. I think it kind of means in their native language, suggesting that their words or attitude are bringing bad energy or negativity. That's how I interpreted it, or how I kind of translated it and did a bit of research around the kind of language and stuff, because obviously so effectively saying that Scholes is bad energy, bringing negativity, but put him in Argentina and he wouldn't survive as well. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. There's a fair argument, to be fair, because the Argentinian league is absolutely brutal, and then maybe there are some players in the Premier League and ex-players and stuff that actually wouldn't survive that style of play. But I think Scholes was being a little bit harsh on Martinez, considering I think he's a good player. Manchester United is set to make 100 to 200 further redundancies. Planned move comes amid further cost cutting following INEOS and Sir Jim Ratcliffe's arrival. The latest staff redundancies are aimed at freeing up cash for Ruben Amorim to spend on the first team. That came from Mike Keegan in the Daily Mail, who's been quite good when it comes to, you know, the financial situation and stuff as well. If anyone really wants to understand the financial situation, I encourage you to go and watch the Muppeteers video where he did. I think it's called PSR versus PR, and he breaks down the actual kind of financial situation at United using the actual kind of books and the facts and stuff as well. I genuinely would encourage you to go and watch that video after this if you kind of really want to understand the financial situation and the reason behind the job cuts and stuff like that as well. It's just terrible, all round terrible. And I always kind of go back to pointing the fingers at the owners of the club, which is the Glazer family, who have bled this club dry. There is no cash left at United because they're spending it all. They continue to spend it all, and we're spending on average £100 million a season more than we're earning, and we're one of the biggest earning clubs in world football. And it's terrible, and we've just been ran to the ground, and these sort of things are, you know, it's shit, and I don't agree with it. There's other ways I think we could be kind of looking to cut the costs and stuff as well. But, you know, my anger and frustration always goes back to the actual people that own this football club, which is the Glazers, who have just done nothing but bleed us dry. But let me know what you think in the comments. Now, some Manchester United players have discussed among themselves whether a change of plan is better suited to their style of play might be the best way forward. There is growing concern among some players that the teething problems they have experienced under Ruben Amorim are not going to improve unless he considers at least tweaking the system. Now, that came from Chris Wheeler and Nathan in the Daily Mail, who are decent sources. I mean, the Daily Mail, you can think of it what you want, but Chris Wheeler's, you know, is a kind of decent source as well. All I would say with that is, you know, we've been fooled once by the players blaming managers and blaming systems and tactics. In fact, by some players, we've been fooled 2 or 3 times because they've been here for multiple managers. It's the same excuses. You know, I don't think I wouldn't want the players to fool us twice. I think you should either adapt to the philosophy or move out of the way if you're not capable of doing it, or you don't think it fits your style of play. You know where the exit door is. Do you know what I mean? I don't think there's any, you know, it's not like these players were playing fantastic football, playing 4 at the back or a 4-2-3-1. You know, let's not forget we finished 8th last season playing that way, and we were in 12th this season when Erik ten Hag got sacked as well. So I don't think the players are in a position now to kind of be demanding a different formation or a different style of play. Do you know what I mean? Because the only style of play these players are suited for is counter-attacking football, and at some point in time, we have to stop playing that style of play because it's unsustainable, it's boring to watch, and it doesn't really get us anywhere. We're just sitting back, parking the bus and hitting on the counter-attack. Like, we've been watching that style of football for years, and at some point we have to grow some balls and get away from doing that. And unfortunately, doing that is going to kind of expose some of these players' weaknesses, and we're going to look shit, and they're going to look shit. But it's a means to an end. It will help us then recruit the right players, because players can't hide behind a system anymore or they can't hide behind that kind of style of play. They've got to then come out and actually be footballers, be athletes, be kind of intelligent players on the pitch, be able to kind of pass and move and play a system and stuff. And if they can't do it, then, you know, they shouldn't be at the club. And it's as simple as that, in my opinion. We know where the main problem lies at United is I think, the players. So I don't think they're in a position of strength when it comes necessarily to demanding style of plays and system changes. Because what, we're going to go back to 4-2-3-1 because that was going really well, wasn't it, at the start of the season when we were in 12th, you know, and it got a manager sacked. So, you know, it is what it is. I'd really, really genuinely love to hear your thoughts on that, though, in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about all the other topics that were discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer news. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out and subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.